So welcome back. So you're back here. So that means that if you're watching this video, you must have watched the previous one, and or you're just interested in learning the derivation for that rigorous ML estimates. So what the thing about this separate video is that the calculation for the ML estimate of theta that is going to be valid for both. Like it's going to be valid for the least square method also and this ML estimate of theta, because those two are essentially the same equations. Before I go ahead and do that, let me just quickly jot down like what is the thing that I actually want to minimize, right? So in the previous video, we had found two particular estimates. Like we had taken sorry, not it's a partial derivative. So we had taken del theta of L theta sigma, and we had equated that to 0, and this from here, like, let me first write down what I had obtained at as L theta comma sigma. So I have this L theta comma sigma, and that had been like, that was like, this was the negative of that. Like, I want to minimize the negative. I'm continuously saying L theta comma sigma, but essentially I am referring to the log likelihood, and now what I'm writing is known as the negative log likelihood, and I'm going to minimize that. So I have this y minus x theta transpose into y minus x. So that is something that I have. So if I just look at the ML estimate of theta, like, let me write it down itself. ML estimate of theta. So I would have del theta is equal to of L del theta is equal to 0. So that would be, let me just go for it. So now obviously this term does not have theta in it, so it's independent of theta, so that's none of our concern. It goes to 0 in this derivative. Let's first just have a look at this term, right? So I want to solve this, and this term will go to 0 in this case. Let me look at the second term. This second term you would also obtain in the least squares method. That was I was saying, this exact second term. So all right, so now that we have that, so what I think we should be doing, I think we should try to restructure that theta equation in a way that, it's easier to calculate. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me just take this term 1 by 2 sigma square y minus x theta transpose into y minus x theta. So once I expand that, I would like, this would be equal to 1 by 2 sigma square. So what I would have is y transpose minus x theta whole transpose into y minus x theta. Now x theta whole transpose would be theta trans, like, I'm going to write these properties, so I think you are knowing them already. Right. So using that and expanding and multiplying at the same time, I guess what I would have is let me just first multiply. Like, let's keep things a bit simple. So what I would have is y transpose y transpose y. Then I have this term minus x theta transpose y. Then I have this term plus x theta transpose x theta. Then I have, I think, one more term. That would be, I think, minus y transpose x theta. All right. With that gone out of our way, let's check what this is, right? So let's look at these two terms first, this term and this term. So what I want to say is that these two are equal, and I don't want to go into the entire mathematical derivation. Let's just look at it from a very simple point of view, right? So these are all matrices. These are all matrices, and in order to actually add these matrices, in order to actually perform these elemental operations on these matrices, they are all of the same dimension. They're all of the same dimension. If I'm just considering for one point instead of a series of points, then these all come down to a single scalar value. So if I'm coming down to a single scalar value for each point, then for each point, these two evaluations must be equal, right? Because the only way that is not equal is this, that they have different dimensions. So if that is equal, then I could just take one term for that, right? Like I could just multiply it by 2. The 1 by 2 sigma square is obviously on the whole thing. Let's see. Let's write everything down the way we want to. I'm going to take this term first, right? So I have x theta whole transpose into x theta. Then I'm taking 2y transpose x theta. Right? So these two terms I'm taking together, 2y transpose x theta, and the remaining term is y transpose. All right. So now that this is gone, this is the function we have right now, and we want to find the minima. So for the minima with respect to theta, I'm going to take del theta is equal to 0. So that term went to 0, and now we have to find the derivative for this term. So we need to know certain rules for that. So these are rules related to matrix differentiation. I'm going to just put down the laws. Maybe later we can go into the derivations of these things. These are fairly easy to derive, right? You could just try them out yourself. So del x, right? Del x ax, right? Del x ax would effectively just be A transpose. While I do these, maybe you can draw like in your mind parallels with respect to what it would have been if these were not matrices. Right, so this would have been just a constant, but we have the transpose of the constant over here. So if I have del x, let's look at the second law, x transpose A. I'm just putting down the basic laws over here, right? This is A. Third case, let's look at del x, x transpose x, and this is 2x. Fourth case, del x, x transpose ax. This is nothing but ax plus A transpose. Alright, so with that out of the way, I think we now can just like, let me go to the previous page simply. Yeah. So now from this we must apply that on this equation, right? So let's go ahead and do that. First, let me break down that transpose multiplication simply. So how I would do that is fairly simple, right? So take del theta and go for like that x theta transpose should be written as x transpose theta transpose, right? Because I had already shown you that law, and you must be knowing that law anyway. But let's just move on. So x transpose theta transpose x theta, right, minus 2 y transpose x theta plus y transpose y. All right, now I'm going to just do this very simple stuff over here, right? So we have these laws, right? We have written down these laws. So let's use them. First, y transpose y, right? I think this is independent of theta and the derivative goes to 0. Okay, the derivative goes to 0. Now let's apply this property number 4. So this property number 4 that we have over here, let's try and apply that on this, right? So we want to try and apply the property number 4 over here, and let's look at this one, right? The first one, it looks like this, right? There's this constant which is multiplied by the variable we are concerned with. So let's do that. So what we have right now is x transpose x theta plus x transpose x whole transpose theta, right? So, and after that we'll have minus 2. I think this would be y transpose x whole transpose. This is going to 0, implies this is going to 0. Alright. Now I think it's fairly simple now. So this is just going to be 2x transpose x theta minus 2x transpose y is equal to 0, which is going to give me x transpose x theta is equal to 2x transpose y. So let me just write y in the capital form because it's a matrix, right? So then what we have is very simple. Let us assume that, assuming that we can find this inverse, assuming that this thing exists. Alright, so that is the solution that we wanted to come to, and we have effectively come over there, right? So one thing I want to discuss is that whenever I discuss whenever I talk about this solution, one common gripe I get is that what if this inverse is not evaluatable? So matrix inverses usually exist for square matrices, and so if you are talking about compute, then I agree with you, this is computationally very expensive. If x is large, often it is impossible to calculate, and hence what we can do is we can simply use the gradient descent algorithm. We can simply use the gradient descent algorithm on this later. Like that is how we solve it for a very large value of x. But then again, some of the times this just gives you the optimal solution, then you just go for it whenever it's evaluatable. But I don't agree with this concept that because of the dimension you might not be able to evaluate, because there exists this beautiful piece of mathematics. I think it's called Moore-Penrose pseudo inverse, with which you can calculate approximate inverses to matrices. So maybe one day we'll have just a video on that. It's a beautiful concept. I picked this up from Ian Goodfellow's The Deep Learning book, and I loved how he illustrated it. So I think we have actually come to the solution that we want to, right? However, we have not discussed every possible angle yet. There was one more term, right? We had said that we will be finding the ML estimate with respect to sigma only, and this does not contribute anything particular to the solution, and hence maybe you just ignore the rest of the video and just stay if you like this sort of things, right? So let's go for ML estimate of variance. You can actually just ignore this part, right? Lots of things to do with life. I ignored this maybe someday. I went off to play badminton. Then again, focus. So minus n by 2 log 2 pi sigma square. And then there is this whole term which does not have sigma, which goes to 0. So this is equal to 0. Oh god. So this entire thing is equal to 0. Right? So let's just take the derivative and be done with it. So I think what we have is fairly simple. So like the second term actually does have sigma, right? Second term actually does have sigma. So I think we are going to just do that. So it's 1 by 2 sigma square into this matrix x minus y minus x theta transpose y minus x theta, and this entire thing is equal to 0. Let's try and evaluate. So this would be minus n by sigma, and this part will be 1 by sigma cube, and this matrix form, I'm just going to take it as the summation form again. Is equal to 1 to n, I is equal to 1 to n yi minus xi transpose theta whole square. This is equal to 0. Solving, we would get sigma square is equal to 1 by n summation I is equal to 1 to n yi minus xi transpose theta, which is nothing but 1 by n summation I is equal to 1 to n I minus mu. This is the definition of the variance. So in case you did not know that sigma square was the standard variance, you just assume that parameter sigma square, and throughout the lecture there was no intuition of it being the standard variance because we had fixed it. We were not varying it to see how the Gaussians will vary, but this actually shows us the beauty that for this entire thing to work, this sigma square must be the standard variance of the data. So that is the takeaway for this. Even though it doesn't contribute anything to the solution, it contributes greatly to our concept. So we do not ignore parts because we can. So that's it, I think, for this series, like this set of 2 videos. Maybe I will later upload one this week on implementing a linear regression, though I think it's already out there. Like there are loads of videos out there implementing linear regression, and anyway you would most probably be using sklearn to do something as simple as that. So I guess if you like what you see, then like, comment and subscribe, and see you then.